It's the fan episode of Locked On Blazers. 3 fans join the show and share their thoughts on what they like about the Blazers, what they dislike, and what they want them to do ahead of the trade deadline. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. If you haven't if you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, please go ahead and do that now. Also, thanks so much for making Locked On Blazers your first listen every single day. It's free on all platforms, 5 days a week, coming at you every single weekday, the only daily Trailblazers podcast. So make it a part of your daily routine and tell your friends to do the same. Today's show is going to be a really fun one. The Blazers lost tonight 99-94 to the Los Angeles Lakers. It was a gross game. And instead of talking so much about a gross game where the Blazers lost to a team that probably none of you care for, I thought we're going to change it up. So in today's episode, I'm bringing on 3 fans, 3 listeners to the show to share their thoughts on the team, share their thoughts on what they want to do next with this group, and kind of what they like and don't like about this season. So let's just get into it. Joining me now, Courtside Kev. You know him as @KevinDo on Twitter, friend of the program and friend of your Blazers tweets. Kev, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. That basketball game was gross. I'm proud of you for watching all of it. It was just an ugly basketball game. Let's not talk about that though. Let's do anything but talk about that gross basketball game in which the Blazers forced 16 turnovers and scored 1 point off turnovers. They just smoked layups all night long. Big picture stuff. What excites you about this team? What makes you raise your eyebrows and be like, oh, okay.
Definitely the young guys. Everybody's going to say Ant, but my favorite young guy is Trendon Watford. And
there we go.
A full segment on why this guy could be like the next Draymond Green. So
Draymond Green, this is high praise. Draymond Green is, like a first ballot Hall of Famer. And Trendon Watford is like a borderline backup 5 in the NBA. Sell me on him being Draymond Green.
Man, the guy's just real smart. He's super young. I think a lot of this stuff can come along. If he can become like half of what Draymond Green is, I think he could be a really good rotation piece for some team someday. So he's just knows how to pick his spots. He hustles a ton. Like tonight, I think all 3 of his baskets were on putbacks.
Right.
He's a good passer out of the post. He sets really good screens. He does everything you want out of your 6th or 7th best guy. So
I think that's true. I'm a Trendon Watford believer. If you've listened to the podcast, I preach the good word on Trendon, but I don't think he should play on a good team. I don't think he should play on a good team. It's just he does little stuff where you're like, oh, he gets it. I think that's the best thing you could say about him is the way he rolls to the rim. He has good pacing on when he sets a screen and rolls. He kind of knows the pacing. He definitely understands defense. He's totally out of his depth playing center in the NBA. And it's unfair that he only gets to play center in the NBA. It would be nice if he got to play, power forward, a position that he's maybe more natural. And we did see very few minutes of that tonight against the Lakers. But yeah,
I think that was the first time he played 4 alongside Nurk too, right?
Yeah. He's played a little bit of 4 next to Larry and a Cody, but he's never played next to Nurk. So monumental moments in the Trendon Watford world.
Moves,
there you go.
Probably going to see a lot more of that moving forward, hopefully.
Pretty excited about 6 and 6 with 2 steals from Trendon Watford. Loving it in 15 minutes. What don't you like about this team? Give me something that you legitimately don't enjoy.
Oh man. Okay. So this team, when they were on that run, the ball movement was excellent. I love CJ McCollum, but that's a lot of ball stopping. He goes through this 2 to 4 minute stretch every game where he just ball stops. He forces shots. It doesn't look great. And it's tough to watch too.
Yeah, it's tough because Dame wants to pound the rock also. But Damian Lillard is one of the 10 best players in the league, and CJ McCollum is one of the 35-ish best players in the league. So when Dame's doing it, okay, it's a little frustrating because it's Dame's screen, rescreen, pound the rock. Okay, didn't work. Step back, splash from 35. Well, damn. And CJ is taking a tough 19-footer in traffic. And if you just have too many of those dudes on the team, and I feel that's where they're at, right? CJ wants to shoot and doesn't want to pass.
Yeah, and Dame can get away with that because he's Damian Lillard at his best. He's like top 10 in the NBA. CJ is like scraping top 40, maybe not even this season. So
hey, come on, keep his trade value up. Maybe someone's listening. Maybe someone's listening to this podcast.
Yeah,
maybe Daryl Morey's listening. Come on.
Yeah, let's get the guy from Locked On Pels back in. Let's let's just forget that I said anything bad about CJ.
No, he's
Pelicans can take him.
Definitely worth it. 2 first-round picks. Definitely worth it. 2 first-round picks. Yeah, I think they don't move the ball enough. I was hoping that would change a little bit with Phillips, but it hasn't really. Like they're not like dead last in the league like they were under Terry Stotts. But zebras, stripes, et cetera, like these guys just play the way they play. You can do a little bit, you can make little tweaks, but it's hard to like really get it done. We mentioned the trade. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's just kind of how the team was constructed. Like our 2 best players are, like great isolation players. Anfernee Simons is shaping up to be like the same type of player too. So it's just, that's
and Norman Powell
roster.
Norman Powell's never passed. Like he's literally never passed the ball. Like I like Norman Powell because he doesn't pass. It's one of my favorite things about him is that he gets the ball in transition, sees 3 dudes between him and the rim, and is like, Yep.
Open lane. There we go.
He's like, I'm definitely going to
know where this is going.
Yeah. So it's like, some of it is just like the group, right? And then I think there's like some anxiety that happens from when Robert Covington's like, I haven't touched the ball in 4 minutes. Like I'm going to do something with it. Now, Rocco had 9 assists tonight. A really wild game, 0 for 8, 0 for 6 from 3, 9 assists, 13 boards and 4 steals. Like a box score legendary Rocco night, but he's typically not a passer. Like he doesn't, not much of a passer. And I think Nurk, while he settled into that, sometimes he would be like, I just don't get the ball enough. I'm shooting. If I get it, I'm shooting. Yeah. And I think it feeds into itself. It all plays off. It plays off one another.
Not enough touches to go around. And it is funny because sometimes you'll see Rocco just lurking on the wing, and he's just going to shoot it. The next time he catches it, it's going up. So.
He's made a decision. The ball is 2 passes away, and he's made a decision like, I am shooting. Yeah, that is definitely the Rocco mentality. You can see it. What do they do from here, Kev? Like what the hell do they do from here?
I think they got to do the obvious thing and trade CJ. We just need wings, if we can get Josh Hart and flip those picks into like another good wing, or like even like Miles Turner, that would be the dream. I'd say he'd help the tank out because I don't think he's going to play for the rest of February. Who knows when he'll be back. But I love watching Dame play with a pick and pop big. You know how good that was with LaMarcus. Not to say that Miles Turner is like nearly as good as LaMarcus is, but same vein.
Yeah, shoots threes, 40% 3-point shooter. He would be literally twice as good at it as Nurk is. So with all due respect, Nurk hit 2 threes tonight. So I'm sorry, Nurk, but you're literally under 25% on the year. So it happens.
Yeah, Kev, 2 for 3 from 3 and 1 off the back of the sideboard. So or side of the backboard.
It was a real tribute to Al-Farouq Aminu, a friend of mine who's probably not listening because he was pretty down on the Blazers, said, was that a Chief tribute? It was immediately he texted me. So it was when you're a 21% free 3-point shooter, sometimes it looks like it.
Yeah,
Kev,
totally.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will do it again soon on the all Blazer fan episode of Locked On Blazers. Kevin, appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
I want to take a moment to tell you about BetOnline. It's got you covered this season with more props, more odds, more lines than ever before. And as football heads to its final game, well, there's no better time than to head over on to betonline.net because it's your best spot for not just football, but all sports. Live updates. They got news on all your sports, and they got action on every single game, not just football, pro and college hoops, the NHL, boxing, UFC, live real-time updates. Like I said, and listen, don't wait. Take advantage of this offer. Don't wait for the Super Bowl. We're 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. Don't wait. You can go get in on all of the action over at betonline.net right now. So head on over. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. Let's keep it rolling on this special fan/listener edition of Locked On Blazers. Get another fan joining us now. Some more perspective on what's next with this team. Joining me now, John at Thorpe Theory on Twitter and the host of the 3430 Club pod. John, thanks for joining me. I don't really want to talk about this game. The Blazers it was a gross basketball game, but let's just kind of talk big picture stuff. When you're watching this team, what excites you? Like what brings you joy with this group?
Yeah, I think like most people, the young guys, seeing them develop, seeing every night I'm looking forward to Ant having a matchup that is going to teach him something. So,
Sure.
Unfortunately, there's been a lot of point guards that have been out recently when Ant has been kind of in this run during January. But one of the things I look for is like the Minnesota game, for instance, when Jared Vanderbilt was just all over him, and that length and that athleticism, just chasing him down in the fourth quarter, like that's perfect. That's what I want to see, because we need to see how he reacts to that. And if he's able to still find guys around the court, pass out of those situations, that's like a invaluable teaching moment. So that's probably one thing I'm looking at. Trendon Watford, I know you're a big fan. Tonight was a little rough for him.
He's just out of his depth. Like Dwight Howard is not a fair matchup for him. It's like, it is what it is. Like he's the backup center. That's how the roster's built. But like, it's like, you're talking developmental minutes. Like those aren't useful developmental minutes. Go guard Dwight Howard is not, it's not useful. Right. That's not a useful thing for him to sort of, he's going to be a big, he's like a 4-5. But he's a 4. Like his future is a 4 and learning to shoot from outside of 1 foot. It's maybe 4.5 with that low floater, but like, I'm with you. It's, you want to see, I really like the Jared Vanderbilt point you made with Ant. Like you want to see guys go up against the type of matchup that if they were in a important game and they were regular parts of this rotation, see them go up against somebody who's good and maybe struggle, right? Like maybe Jared Vanderbilt puts you in the snuggie and it's like, okay, I get it. I can learn from that. But like Trendon Watford's like, oh, I'll never be as big as Dwight Howard. I'm never going to be as big as Anthony Davis. Cool. These are not useful minutes for me.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, up until Nas got injured, of course, that was fun to see. I know you and I have disagreed about, should he guard 4s? Should he guard 2s? And you're seeing him be a more switchable player, which Portland hasn't had in a long time. So that was something I was enjoying up until last week.
Yeah, let's bring listeners in on that. So John and me have had, I would say, exchange of thoughts on email over what the sort of future of Nazir Little. Where are you at with him defensively? Like, because I thought he was making real strides before he got hurt.
Yeah. I know he has one of the longest like wingspan to height ratios in the NBA, which is of course something Portland very rarely has had. And I've heard people debate about whether he's really 6'5", like he's listed at 6'5", and then other people say no, like off the record, he's told us he's taller than that. But I see him more as like a 2-3 on defense, just because I guess maybe I would prefer to see even more length at the 3 and the 4 than Nas. And I think he has that that energy and that hustle to try and chase the smaller guys around on the court. And I see him getting a little overshadowed at the 4 by, some of the better, stronger guys in the league. So maybe if he puts on, 10 more pounds of muscle, then maybe you can see him guarding more 4s. But I think I would like to see Chauncey experiment with him. I guess this will be next year, trying to guard, bigger guards and smaller 3s and see if he can stay in front of those guys and not let himself get beat.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think the bulk against 4s is a little bit of a challenge for him. He's pretty strong, but he's not that, like he's not Chuck Hayes or whatever.
JJ Hickson, former Blazer great.
Yeah, exactly. He's not one of those undersized guys that's just like a wall that you can't move. His strength is his athleticism. So I agree that I've maybe come around to say that, like, let's let Nas guard 2s and 3s and mostly be a wing stopper, because the Blazers' future is needing wings. And he, in the brief period that they really let him loose for about 15 games as a true starting 3 in the league, he looked like he was not too far out of his depth. He looked like he was a contributor there. Maybe not like a high level starting wing, but pretty good. For this season, pretty good is just incredible. Pretty good feels just very, very comfortable, because the Blazers haven't had a lot of things you can point to. It's like, oh yeah, they're fine. What do they do? I'm asking everybody this. Like, how do they get out of this? Because they're not good right now. What do you want to see them do and change before next season, or even at the deadline or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably sound like a broken record, but I think getting plus length is probably my first priority if I were to be making the phone calls. Guys like Justin Holiday, Jared Vanderbilt. I'm a big Miles Turner fan. I will post about Miles Turner frequently. I'd like to see them kind of go all out for defense and length, and see what that looks like with Dame and Ant next year. And I'm fine just completely changing out the 3, 4, and the 5 for guys that are going to give you that plus size on the wing.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned Justin Holiday. I'm a fan. If a Indiana and Portland trade were to go down, that is the name I'm like, you think Justin Holiday could just like come on out west,
just tag along with Miles Turner?
Is he coming? He's coming. Him and TJ Warren. Probably not. TJ hasn't played in like 2 years, but that would be a little too dark for Blazer fans. But I was a believer when he was healthy. I'm with you. I think the Tom Ziller wrote about this in Good Morning It's Basketball, a Substack that he runs and a newsletter that I subscribe to. Is like the Blazers have basically tried two things. They tried Dame and LaMarcus for a couple years. It's pretty good. And then they tried Dame and CJ for, 7 seasons. I think they owe it to Dame to try anything else. And while Anfernee Simons feels very similar to the Dame CJ pairing, I think the trying something else would be your idea. Two smaller score first guards who aren't good defenders, and then all in on defense. You complement Dame with all defenders. That seems like a really reasonable try. Can they do that? Maybe not, right? Like maybe not. Maybe they don't have the path there. But I'm with you. If they could, that's the direction I would go. I think we agree there. Even if we've argued about Nas over email, I think we're simpatico on this.
I like the Raptors a lot, so I think my mind always goes to like, let's just make everyone 6'7" and see what happens.
If everyone was gigantic and long, then it's like, hey, you don't have a lot of ball handling. Hey, you don't have a real center, but boy, are you a wild matchup every single night. I'm with it. The Raptors are a fun watch. And they only play 5 guys, so you're always going to see the same 5 guys.
When they played Portland recently, I was thinking throughout the whole game is like, what if we just mixed these two teams? Like, you play for Portland for a couple days and you come over to Toronto, and what would happen? Like, would they become more balanced rosters?
That's a pretty good thought experiment. Could the Toronto Blazers or Portland Raptors, could they win a championship? Is that a championship level team? I think that's I'll get Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors. I'll see what he thinks on that. John, thank you so much for joining the show. We will me and you can fight about more stuff over email. We appreciate you. Y'all check out 3430 Club Pod. It's the podcast that John just started and hosts, and you can follow John at Thorpe Theory on Twitter. Thanks again, John.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Want to take a moment to tell you about rockauto.com. It's a place where you can save time and money. First of all, it's quick and easy to use. They got an easy to use and navigate website. It's going to save you time. And they're going to save you money, like 30, 50, or even 100% more than the chain auto parts stores or the car dealership. Take, for instance, the Honda Odyssey fuel pump. It's $353 if you go to that chain auto parts store in your neighborhood. But if you order at rockauto.com, it's just $216. You're going to save real bread so you can spend it on other things you need and not just your car. Rock Auto always has reliably low prices for every customer, whether you're a professional mechanic or just a do-it-yourselfer. They specialize in helping those do-it-yourselfer folks, but they don't have some special section to make it cheaper for mechanics. Low prices for everybody. So go to rockauto.com right now, see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? That way they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. We're still doing the all-fan episode of Locked On Blazers, bringing the listeners in to chat about the team, their likes, their dislikes, and their hopes for the future. So let's keep it rolling. Joining me now, Pierce. Pierce, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, first time video guest here. If you guys are watching on YouTube, everybody made their YouTube debut here. Pierce, when you watch this Blazer team, and admittedly they're not very good, what excites you? Like what do you get excited to watch, or what do you get interested to watch?
Mike, you gotta really try to find what's enjoyable on this Blazers team. Like really, sometimes really hard. Like the thing I probably love most is Jusuf getting rid of the floaters. Actually being big down there and everything like that. But the thing, I think a common answer that you're gonna get from everyone is like the youth movement.
That's what everyone said. 3 for 3.
Nas going down ruined my week.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God, just unfair for him, just how much he's overcome with COVID and everything like that. But like now I'm just like enjoying like the Trendon Watford's like weird shot put, like almost like a shot put post game that he has where
put
like
only push floaters. Yeah, only
push
these
little push floaters are just like really enjoyable. I'm going like he's running the break and like he's playing solid defense, and like every night like he can foul out in the first 6 minutes or he can do some amazing stuff. So like I said, it's there's a point in December where I didn't have any enjoyment at all because Dame was hurt and everything like that. But now it's like, hey, like the game sucked tonight, but that's okay. Like Ant looked fine. I like where the team's kind of heading. I'm very curious what we're going to do at deadline, but just overall, like these are fun players still to watch the night to night.
What do you credit Nurk's change in? Like, is this? I guess let me leave it at that, and then I'll drill in a little bit. Like, where do you credit him ditching the floaters to?
I think it's just the touches he's getting on the paint. For a long time, he was just the only touchy guys off of Dame's pick and rolls, and he would just catch on top of the key and had to make a decision whether it was pass or shoot the little floater. And now that he's getting so many direct post-up touches, I feel like he's just like, oh, I don't need this in my game more. I don't need to worry about, feeling productive on the Dame pick and roll. I need to shoot this floater, not only to, win the game at the end of the day, but like, I think there's a lot of satisfaction he gets of like just cruising down there and everything like that. So, it's frustrating. It's been the norm this season of seeing like a 4 for 13 from him on like a nightly basis, just from, missing little gimmies to like even tonight was a great illustrator of like, okay, like you wish he would just dunk him when he has like a, Avery Bradley on him on that post, but like it's still a lot better than what it was the last couple of seasons. It was mind-bogglingly frustrating. And like I said, I think he's playing a lot harder now that he's getting his post touches.
Yeah, I think he's there's always been moments when he realizes that he's 300 pounds. But now they're really leaning into that. And I do think it is, I do think the touches have allowed him to be patient and allowed him to he doesn't have to rush. He can just say, let's go get it. And let's go get it can mean I know I'm going to get the ball where I want it, which is I'm going to get the ball on the left block. I'm going to be able to go hard right hand, throw my left shoulder into someone and get to what I want to. And because he knows he's going to get that touch that he wants the way he wants it, it lets him be Nurk. So I think Chauncey deserves some credit for leaning into that. It came up by necessity. So it's not like it came up because they ran out of good players. So like it is what it is. Sometimes that's how coaching works though, is like you try to get your best players the ball and eventually attrition means that Nurk is one of your best players. And when he was their second best offensive player, they leaned into this and I think it's been helpful and you see the value in it. And I think it makes us all appreciate Nurk a little bit more because you're like, oh, he does have this in him. I just wonder when Dame's back and they're running 37 pick and rolls a game, does this Nurk show up or does the sort of more anxious Nurk, more little rushed Nurk show up? That part remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. Speaking of Nurk and remains to be seen, what do you want them to do with the trade deadline? Like you said we'll see. Like what is like a successful trade deadline in your eyes?
I'm all for, moving on with some of our free agents that are due this upcoming summer. That Rocco trade to the Jazz has been being flown around. I know with Joe Ingles going down lately, I don't think it's, is it going to be O'Neal now? Possibly. But, I think a lot of people were on that Nurk bandwagon, that Nurk train of like, oh, just, trade him to trade him. Rocco and Nurk. And like, I had a hard time going like, is like Miles Turner an upgrade over Nurk at this point? Like
he's a stylistic change. He's a stylistic change.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't see that moving the needle. I'd rather just keep the guy happy and hopefully we might get him on a bargain contract. But, there's a lot of debate over CJ and Norm and Simons. I'm all for, I think a lot of people say is like, I want Simons to be starting to moving forward. I just like his intangibles in terms of pick and roll, the playmaking. There was a great play tonight, despite how bad this game was tonight.
All right, give me a positive from this nightmare.
Yeah, there was a play, I think, with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth tonight, where Simons ran a pick and roll with Nurk, and he found Norm in the corner after looking off Norm's guy, adjusting to the wing, free throw line, extended wing. I think CJ was there, but he looked him off, totally fooled him, found Norm in the corner. And I was just thinking, like, as much as I love CJ, and this was a great Norm game by all accounts, but like even through all that, and Simons had some like pretty bad misses, that was the type of thing where it's like, I trust that playmaking when Dame's not having a good night or that threat's there. Like Simons is honestly just been incredible in terms of like, even if he's having a bad game, he does like stuff like that where you go like it's just hard for me to go like, I don't remember the last time CJ's made a move where look a guy off the corner, find the open guy in the corner and made the play, instead of it's almost like, oh, TJ had to run the pick and roll. You kind of know what's going to happen. It's going to be a fadeaway jumper, everything like that. So, like I said, I'm more of the youth movement. I don't like the idea of having $80 million worth of cap space committed to 3 guards. So that's where I'm kind of
they'll get it down to just 60 million for 2 guards.
Yeah, exactly. When Dave's 60 million a year kicks in.
Yeah, they'll give Dame 40 million,
and 45
20 million,
yeah.
and exactly, and it'll be 65 million for 2 guards. So it'll feel way better than 80 million for 3. It'll be a steal.
Yeah, and then with the way Nurk's play, may add another 30 to that as well. I totally kid, but yeah, like I said, that's where I wanted the direction to go. I actually like the idea of having Joe Ingles on the team for a little bit, just because like he's an Aussie. He's a good guy on the locker room. I think he could teach just a good presence. I don't know if you would.
Yeah, he's also like he's an a-hole. Like he talks so much so much smack. So I think fans would enjoy him if he was on your roster.
Like Joakim Noah's status of like A tier, like just awful person to be on the court. But like everyone from, the guy after he pissed off, be like, oh, he's the nicest guy off the court.
Yeah. No, I think, I don't think, Joe Ingles, if listeners don't know, Jazz swingman tours or forward tours ACL, his season, and, it's 34 potentially, we'll see what happens with that. I don't think a Royce O'Neal Rocco swap's happening, because I don't know if Rocco's better than Royce O'Neal.
Yeah.
He's different a little bit. He's probably a better team defender, but not as good of a one-on-one defender. But the Jazz desperately need anyone who can guard. They just need anyone who can guard. And so I don't think they can give away Royce with their desperation for like literally anyone to play defense. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
My thought too. That was my thought too, is like these, I know you probably, I'm a big listener of your podcast. I know you hate fake trades.
No, I don't. I hate
to a degree.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
To a degree, like rational. It's not like we're asking like, hey, Westbrook for Dave, that's a clean swap because it works on trade machine. That doesn't work in real life.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that's the big problem. Like, okay, we make this move for Rocco, for O'Neal. That's like a tax saving move. I think O'Neal makes like $8 million, Rocco makes 12. It's like, okay, that's enough to put us under the tax. O'Neal is a fine player, but if you look at the Jazz perspective, especially the way they're playing right now, it's like, is that really enticing? Like especially if we want like even a couple seconds with that, it's like probably not. So like I said, I think Joe's going to have his hands full in terms of, everyone says it's super easy because the computer says it's possible, but there's just so many. And like I feel for CJ too. I feel like, with the birth of his kid, he's really established here in Oregon, opened a vineyard. I can't imagine what Joe is feeling. God forbid if it was Neil. I don't think Neil would go to his grave not trading CJ, but like just imagining CJ with the Pelicans just going like, that's tough. That's a tough sell. And like I said, I'm more on the side of like, they're human at the end of the day. They're just not some salary cap, number on the stat sheet. Like that was what I did for the Blazers for a long time. Is I was a tendencies guy. I watched what the players did on the court and everything like that. So I didn't look at box scores. I looked how they just play. So
And beyond you putting some data in a sheet to say, hey, this guy goes right, 13% of the time, and if he goes left, he always pulls up. Like beyond that sort of stuff, CJ's a new dad. He's a new dad with beyond the business interests. It's just like it's uprooting your family. I think this week is fun for fans, but I always will remember this one scene. I was going to save this for a little bit, but you remind me of it, Pierce. When Nick Stauskas got traded, it was the trade that sent Wade Baldwin and Stauskas to Cleveland and then all over the map. I believe they were traded 4 other times after that for the Blazers when they got Rodney Hood. It was at the practice facility. News comes out. Stauskas comes out of the back and just gives everybody a hug. He goes around and gives kind of like the dap hug to everybody, like the high five and then a hug. And you could tell that he was realizing that his dream might be over. Like that, it didn't work here and it might be done. And that's not going to happen to CJ McCollum. He's too good. Like he's going to play in the league for another 10 years, maybe. Like he's good. That he'd be 40. That's maybe a little generous, but like 6, no problem.
He has the Lou Williams like career coming up.
Right. He'll certainly, I was almost certainly sign another contract in the NBA. Right. Yeah. But there is this moment with trades where you realize that this thing is done. And with Stauskas, has not played in the NBA since then.
Yeah, I think he got a 10-day this season with the
Raptors. He did. He signed
he got a couple of 10 days, but I thought, I don't want to divulge too much to that. I thought that's what Ben was going to be this season, where he had that Charlotte game, like instantly reminded me of like that Stauskas opening night versus the Lakers. I think Stauskas hit 6 threes.
Yeah, 24.
I remember Terry played him pretty heavily for the first 50 games and nothing happened. And it's like, that just sucks. And like I said, I follow Nick on Instagram. I see all his rehab, and it's just tough. Like I said, they're just like you, despite what despite how high they can jump, they're like you and I. They have jobs, they have families, they have all these considerations, and even like a small move, like moving across country to a brand new area that you've never been before, like that's really hard. And like I said, I appreciate with Quick's article that came last with Norm, where the Blazers set him up in a really nice house in Lake Oswego, asked him all the things that Norm likes, so it felt like home. Like that goes a long way for a lot of organizations, but it doesn't make the blow lessen the blow any more than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of this Blazer team feels real senioritis-y. They feel like they're just waiting for whatever comes comes next. And I think part of whatever comes next is dudes moving all around the country to kind of just pick up your life and go. It's trade season's fun. I don't want to make it less fun. I don't want to be like, don't have fun because Nick Stauskas got sad one time.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's real impact on real lives. So I think that's a good reminder. Pierce, thank you so much for joining the program. This was a ton of fun.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Mike. And like I said, big supporter of everything you do. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks again to Kevin, John, and Pierce for joining the show. It was a ton of fun. We'll do these again, dear listeners. So if you're interested in joining one of these, this kind of happened on a whim. So follow me on Twitter at Mike G. Rich. I'll send out if we're going to do these again, I'll send out a tweet soliciting your participation. Tweet at me, get you in the show. Literally. Thanks again to John, Pierce, and Kevin. Tell your friends about this podcast. Free 5 days a week. On all platforms. Make your first listen. Tell your friends to do the exact same thing. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.